Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. This is the Roaming Prepper, Pete here, and thank you for joining me once again on a Saturday SitRep. First and foremost, we're going to go do a sound and mic check, and I want to be sure that you guys, everything is set good on my end, and you guys can hear me. This is obviously a pre-recorded video. I will leave the live chat and Premiere function on so that folks can converse. I should be able to make this particular video, but I may not. I will be traveling, and so it's a little bit difficult to interact while you're on the road, but we'll see. Hopefully I can pull that off. In any case, I hope everyone is doing well this very nice weekend here in Texas. With everything going on, this week I had covered riots and civil unrest. We also did an update on the Afghanistan situation. So I'm going to try and back away from that and kind of change gears. If you're trying to live a life where you have a preparedness mindset within your means and abilities, you need to not get fixated or try not to get fixated on certain aspects, whether it's food or civil unrest or disease or economy. You need to try to take a holistic view, and I'm going to try and do that today. We're going to kind of back away from some of the geopolitical unrest and look at some things that affect us day to day, not something that could affect us far away, but something can affect us now. And once again, this is going to be a little bit shorter. This just a lot going on. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of my fellow YouTubers in the same boat, where they'll either fall off the grid or do recordings because they just don't have bandwidth, which is a good sign. That means people are back to work, people are being active again, and hopefully that will continue over time. But we're going to start today with economics, because this has been a big concern. It's been something under the surface that the community has been talking about. So as of Friday, August 27th, which would be today, this is the article from the CNBC Economy Group. Key inflation gauge rises 3.6% for the first time since the 1990s. So I'm going to show that to you here right now. Bear with me just a second. There we go. And so essentially, an inflation measure the Federal Reserve uses to set policy rose 3.6% in July from a year ago, meeting Wall Street expectations, but it also tied the highest level of inflation in about 30 years. So let's back up to that. Remember, back in the 90s, we had that inflation balloon, and it cratered oil and gas in 95. It cratered a few things, one behind the other. And I don't remember if the tech bubble took its first hit there. I need to look back at that. But in any case, key inflation gauge rises 3.6%. Now, the fact that it met Wall Street's expectations means the finance gurus saw the pattern. They looked at the big pictures and said, yeah, we're going to see a little bit of this inflation. The inflation measure the Federal Reserve uses to set policy rose 3.6% in July from a year ago. That equaled the Dow Jones estimate and appeared to be the highest level since May of 91. Some of the volatility indicators were food prices, energy prices, whose index actually rose 4% year over year. So keep that in mind, because we're going to talk about that here shortly. Personal income surged, jumping 1.1%. So when they say income, that means the number of dollars you're getting, not necessarily the value of the dollars. So you've got more dollars coming in, and prices are going up. That's the classic signs of an inflationary environment. So what it means is you need more dollars to pay for the bottle of water that you paid less dollars for a couple of years ago. The Fed has viewed inflation pressures this year as largely the result of temporary pressures, although officials in recent days have conceded that the situation may last longer than originally thought. So here they're basically acknowledging the fact that they do not have a complete faith that this is just a transitionary inflation as the economy speeds up and there's a little bit of a wobble in the value of the dollar. Keep in mind, there are also factors such as supply chain issues and shortages of various things from computer chips to various types of food. Shipping is backed up. A lot of things have gotten screwed up because of the Rona, the shutdowns, geopolitical instability. So, guys, keep in mind, inflation is occurring, and it may occur in such a way that it will affect you in purchasing food, purchasing clothing, uh, gasoline, all those things, the staples you need day to day, but also the staples most of us use for preparedness. So we're going to continue to see that. Now, the good news is the Fed understands this, and the Fed is not being stupid. And we'll share the screen here in a second. So this is on NPR. The federal chair says it may soon be time to start reducing the massive economic support. So what he's trying to allude to is that they will start backing off of the stimulus, backing off of the checks, basically trying to get people back to work. Their philosophy, if I'm reading the articles right, is while everything was shut down, people couldn't pay rent, buy food, so they threw money at them. Now things are opening up, jobs are now available, but people are not going back to work, so we have personnel shortages, which result in supply chain shortages. So they're like, okay, we're going to start pulling that back. We're going to start taking money out of the economy, so we have less dollars in circulation, if you will, and try and make the value of each dollar a little bit more and encourage the people to go out into the workforce. So Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said on Friday the U.S. continues to recover from the pandemic recession and that progress could allow the central bank to dial back its extraordinary efforts to prop up the economy later this year. He did state that the recovery remains unstable and unpredictable and that the Fed will continue to monitor as things occur to make sure they're making the best decision possible. As the labor market conditions are improving but turbulent, and the pandemic continues to threaten not only health and life, but economic activity. No big surprise there, guys. We all knew this was an ongoing thing. I get some comfort in knowing that the Fed and the economists are paying attention. They see it. They're monitoring it. Wall Street kind of forecasted it in its calculations. Hey, there's a lot of money out there. We're printing a lot of dollars. We're going to see that inflationary effect. So this is good. It gives me comfort when the entities like Wall Street, the Fed, the government actually are being honest and saying, hey, look, we're kind of causing a little bit of inflation. We're going to have to reel it in here in the near future. It gives people a chance to maneuver. Also, if you're in the market and you move, for instance, from stocks to bonds or treasuries or T-bills, whatever, to kind of hedge against inflation, you can try to put some money back in stocks, gain some interest, gain some value. Again, speak to a financial advisor or a financial counselor for more advice. I'm just throwing this out very generically. However, it's a good sign that the economy is indeed starting to move to where they're thinking, okay, we need to start reeling back in. Now, why is the economy so erratic? Obviously, the Rona. But the Rona isn't the whole story. Food prices are fluctuating with labor and supply shortages. So we're going to look at this paper from Oklahoma State, my bad. So that's Oklahoma State, the OSU extension for media and business. So what we're looking at, it's happening at big box chains and locally owned markets after the rush of panic buying a year ago. A few empty shelves still haunt grocery stores. Labor Department reports that in the past 12 months since 2020, of July 2020, the customer price index has increased 5.4%. So these guys are even saying that even though inflation has gone up 4%, incomes have gone up 1%, the CPI, the consumer price index, or the felt pressure on the consumer to buy commodity goods, has gone up to 5.4%. So basically, what we've been seeing is true. They see it, they've studied it, and yes, we are seeing the inflationary effect in the pricing. Part of the problem is because of the shutdowns, you had uh, energy sector shut down a lot of stuff, everything shut down. Now, if things are spinning up, we can't get enough energy to the market in a timely manner. It's been all over the map. At the same time, getting people back to work is requiring more dollars because each dollar is worth less. You kind of see how this is all coming to play. So it's a textbook definition of supply and demand. When supplies are low and few workers are available to ship the products, consumers can expect higher costs. So that supply demand curve, that crisscross supply demand curve, also affects you with labor. If you have low labor supply and the demand stays the same, your price is going to go up. Right, they even point out motorists, for the most part, are paying $1 or more per gallon of gas. So we're seeing it across the board. My own point of view, what I'm seeing in not only the three energy sectors, solar, wind, and oil and gas, but also the warehouse, the trucking industry, a lot of people have not come back to work. And again, the Fed pointed to it. Part of it is a stimulus. They're actually losing money going back to work, which now is starting to have a negative effect. But also in some cases, people have gotten sick. During the shutdowns, people let their, commercial driver's license, hazmat license, whatever their certifications expire because they had to go work somewhere else and they left it to expire. And now they have to go back and recertify and get back into the industry. So we're going to see a lot of fluctuation. We're also seeing people move industries. People are leaving certain jobs to go elsewhere, especially the jobs that were very unstable during the Rona. Certain sectors had a lot of losses in personnel and business, and subsequently, if that's a trend in that industry, people are going to be like, look, I'd rather get paid three-quarters what I'm getting paid and have the same check every month than go work for you. I'm going to make more, but I never know what I'm going to get. You can't budget around that. So instability is causing people to change industries. So hence more labor shortages. They also busted the theory that local grown or manufactured products are sold at lower prices. He said it's not true. It costs a whole lot less money per pound to move 40,000 pounds of fresh produce 500 miles than 40 pounds of produce 50 miles. He's pointing out the bulk shipping. Now that's not always the case. He's looking at large like Sam's, right, or Costco, where they order, 100,000 tons of beef or whatever the hell they order, 10,000 tons of beef, and they pay this bulk shipping. Well, yeah, per pound it comes out way cheaper. That's why the price is lower than, local Joe's Market picking up beef from, Susan's cattle ranch over there. And he's just alluding to the economies of scale of transport. But even so, the bottom line is there's some equipment shortages, supply shortages. People didn't invest in capital last year either. So a lot of folks didn't buy the new building. They didn't get the new semis. They didn't get the new tractors. They held off because the economy sucked. Now, lo and behold, we're starting to see that. So yes, the supply chain is a little bit discombobulated at the moment. So the good thing is all of those pieces are starting to make sense. A few months ago, it was all over the map. People were like, there's prices high here, they're low there. Reading this gives me at least some clarity on what's happening. It doesn't make me happy about it, but it gives me clarity. So again, as people who want to be prepared, what do you do? Well, when you find that product in store that you've been waiting for, buy the bulk pack and uh, either freeze dry it or dehydrate it or vacuum seal it, whatever it is you're doing. But get the product when it's available, buy the bulk so that you're saving some money, and then store. Make use of maximizing the space in your freezers, in your pantries. There's no reason not to do it. I mean, it just makes sense. You can do, if you all watch my kitchen live a few weeks ago or last month, I did two really nice fillets. I did bread, I did veggies at the house for less than the cost of what would have been half of one of the plates in the store, even with the increased prices. So you benefit if you can cook more at home and get your inner chef on. And it also gives you time with the family, which we all need right now. So speaking of meat, there's an old article from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City where they show, and I just want to touch on this a minute. They show the old, hold on just a second here. They show the map of the affected meat plants. So let's see if we can blow that up a bit. So as you can see here, you know, they had all these meat plants, positive cases, but they never closed. Some were closed for more than 1 week and reopened for less than 1 week. So again, when you shut down a manufacturing plant and then try to spin product back up, remember there was meat on the conveyor, there was whatever product, stuff has to get thrown out, machinery needs to be reset, things need to be cleaned. So if you stop a manufacturing plant from, especially food, and then you restart it, you have to clean the food, sanitize, get rid of germs. You don't want salmonella and all the chicken going out to Sam's. It's not an easy push the button process. If they're shut down for 2 weeks, it could take them a week just to get everything back moving again. Now you're behind technically 3 weeks. You kind of see how that works. So closures and slowdowns led to sharp reductions in operating capacity in beef and pork plants, hence a decline in meat production, which we've seen in the supply chain. Daily capacity at U.S. cattle and hog facilities declined as much as 45%. This was a year ago. So we're still seeing supply chain. Keep in mind, supply chain isn't like an on-off switch. It's more like a ripple effect in a pond. You throw a rock in it, the ripples will go out and keep coming back and forth for a while until it all flattens out. So we're still seeing this. And plus, with the resurgence of Delta, a lot of folks are getting sick. I mean, it is serious. It's no joke. So people are getting shut down. People are getting sick and having to quarantine for 2 weeks, or they're getting exposed. So even if I'm not sick, but somebody in the house is sick, now I got to quarantine as well, and then I got to get poked in the nose or whatever the hell they require. There's a lot of instability. So a plant comes online, it shuts back down, it screws everything up. So you figure if it takes 2 to 3 weeks for a meat plant, for instance, or food plant, from shutdown to back online, imagine if they get shut down the next month again for a week. So shut down for a week, clean up for a week, back online again. Well, now you're 5 weeks behind. You only have to have that happen 1 or 2 times, and it screws up the whole logistic year. So again, guys, control your personal supply chain. Buy local. It may cost a little more, but the supply chain is shorter. You can have more control. Get to know your local farmers. Buy in bulk. Buy with friends as a group. You got a lot of purchasing power as a group. So if you can go to Sam's and tell the guy, hey, I want to buy a pallet of water bottles, and you split it between 3 people, you know, now that, you know, $1,500 pallet of water bottles is now $300 a person, and each of you has enough damn bottles for 6 months. Well, you did good. Just an example, but you kind of get it. So yes, the supply chain is a little bit jacked up, but just the same, there are steps you can take to mitigate the hit, to reduce the liability to you and your family, and to make sure you are taking the right steps to be ready in case there is a further disruption, whether it's from the Rona, whether it's from the Taliban, whether it's from Godzilla. The same rules apply, right? They're the basic blocks of being ready are the same. So speaking of the Taliban and Godzilla, I will touch on it very briefly. We kind of beat it up this week. A little update from overseas. So anyway, we're going to start here with this article. So it's not expanding. There we go. Biden promises retribution. So the Pentagon confirmed that there was actually one explosion outside of the airport, not two. And what they may have heard was a secondary explosion. So there was one bomb, but then it may have set something on fire that exploded separately. But that wasn't part of an actual bomb. Still part of the attack. Very little consolation to the troops that were killed. Right now, this has completely changed the dynamic. As I mentioned on Thursday, the Taliban is now pissed at ISIS. They don't like each other anyway, so now they're killing each other. Actually, personally, if the Taliban kills ISIS, that'll make everyone else's life a lot easier, since the Taliban wants to talk to people and ISIS doesn't. So I don't know. That's some ancient hatred over there. But in any case, now the Taliban's trying to chase ISIS out of their own country. So that's going to be interesting how that breaks out. But unfortunate situation, definitely not good. But the president said they are going to try and hunt down these folks. He did have a speech last night. I did not get to see it. So I can't really comment on it. I'll probably listen to it on my way, on my trip this weekend. But we have, despite what the president promised, people are kind of pissed off. They felt it wasn't handled very well. So in response to that, the Washington Post reports that the Biden administration receives heated criticism from Republicans and heated questions from some Democrats after the Kabul airport attack. Essentially, President Biden faced heated criticism from congressional Republicans after the attack. No big surprise, but the Democrats are now questioning the choice of actions as well. Let's bring up that article. Sorry, it was taking a little moment to load up. Well, let's roll that one. While some Republicans said Biden should resign, most focused on demanding the withdrawal timeline set for Tuesday be extended to allow a counterattack against IS, since the Taliban really can run them out of the city, but they don't have the means to keep them out. The most vocal criticism came from Robert Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey, who questioned whether letting the Taliban guards had failed in their job and let ISIS bombers in. Now, these guys don't like each other, but the Taliban are like soldiers. They're not trained for this kind of stuff, so they may not have been checking. Who the heck knows? In any case, Speaker Nancy Pelosi used her statement to warn lawmakers against another unofficial visit to Kabul following the actions of two congressmen earlier this week, roughly 48 hours before the explosion. So apparently some congressmen went to Afghanistan and didn't tell Congress, and Pelosi's telling them, knock it off. Kind of redundant. They're going to do what they're going to do. But yeah, so the administration came under some heat due to not informing Congress what they were doing, pulling the military out before the civilians. It's kind of being done backwards. One congressman in particular has kind of taken it to another level because he apparently was very pissed off. And he calls on Kamala Harris to invoke the 25th Amendment because he feels that Biden and his cabinet are incompetent. Now, most Republicans are like, no, we'll work with him. We just need to move it over. He went straight to the he needs to go because he's making bad decisions. He wrote this letter. He wrote an open letter directly to the vice president, and Vice President Harris is received the letter. They haven't commented on it. He said the president's physical inability to lead is not a political talking point. It's a demonstrable fact. He is not mentally fit to serve as president of the U.S. The two parties like to do that. They said the same thing about Trump because Trump had potty mouth and people got upset with that. They said he should be removed because he's a jerk. So I'm pretty confident it won't go anywhere unless something really abrupt happens. But they did push that button, so they're kind of, I guess, throwing it back on the administration and the incumbent party to try to alleviate some of the issues that they're having. In the letter, he wrote that as a member of the president's inner circle and a former presidential primary debate opponent, she should have seen clearer more than anyone the president's limitations. So we don't know where that's going. That's just puffery on the part of a congressman. But people took this hard. I mean, let's face it, guys. This was not handled well, but right now there's nothing any of us can do. As they say, one would be amazed if you were a fly on the wall in the emperor's palace. I'm sure Washington is constantly like this, to be honest with you. That being said, nothing we can do about Middle East right now other than support our troops. If you do know an Afghan war vet, touch base with them if you can. Reach out to them. I have a few friends I've reached out to, went out for beers with. Most of the people I know, they're annoyed, but they're like, hey, I did my thing. We did a good job, and it is what it is. One said he'd go back, but it's a shit show now. He wants to go back the right way. But they do have friends there, so a lot of these vets, Tim Kennedy is one on Instagram and on YouTube, and he is actually flown back and found some of his interpreters and their families, and they're trying to figure out how to get them home. I think he's been successful. I haven't heard any more. He's on Insta if you want to follow him. He's done several tours there, and oh Lord, what's his name? I just blanked out on his name. Warrior Poet Society. He had some really good insights on this. He's done multiple tours out there as well. This is a tough thing for the vets to see. So, take them out for a beer or a burger. They might be a little salty about this, to say the least. But keep an eye on our troops, even after they've hung up their uniforms. So, ladies and gentlemen, look, this will be a short one today. I'm trying not to keep it too long. Supply chain, same rules. Try to control your supply chain. You may pay a little more, but if you can shorten the distance between the product source and you, that's a good thing. So look at those farmers markets. Grow your own crops if you have property. Create a community garden and start growing carrots or beets or whatever the hell you can grow there. Not everyone has a homestead. Not everyone has a house. You got an apartment, you got a condo, you live in a double wide. There are other things you can do. Get creative. Make sure you have that inventory of food in the event we get another supply chain disruption. Stuff disappears off the shelf. You've got a couple of weeks, so you're not out there with the toilet paper battlers, the TP warriors trying to get stuff. You're at home watching them, and then when their panic subsides, then you can go and fill in any holes you have. Remember, there are a lot of facets to being prepared for emergencies, so don't get too fixated on food prep or guns or ammo or politics or your car. If anything, kind of do a cycle. I'd recommend set yourself a calendar in your book if you have a planner, or do it on your computer or your phone. Week 1, inventory food. Week 2, I don't know, check the garden. You get what I'm saying. Set up a timeline and go through the different aspects of your situation. In any case, guys, I've got to go. That's work calling. So this is the Roaming Prepper. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, I will leave the live chat on so you guys can commiserate with each other. If you have any questions or need the reference for some of these articles, shoot a link in the comment below. I know the picture's sometimes blurry. Until next time, take care. Godspeed if you're on the road. God bless to all our boys and girls overseas. And to everyone else, pay attention, make yourself ready, and if you can, help someone out. Take care and be safe.